incest map.
What, in the kids' helpline?
It was all about who hooked up with who in our year and what they did.
Wristy? Doughy? Think I can work out tongue punch in the fart box?
Hey guys, congrats on the series. So much fun, so gritty, just like so multi-layered and interesting. I want to start by asking you, what do you know of the original series?
I didn't know anything about it. When I was auditioning for this, I told my mom, I was like, oh, I just got this audition for this reimagining of Heartbreak High, and she screamed out and she was like, oh my God, and she's like, come watch it. And I sat down and watched it. I'd never heard of it before this, but I think James had heard of it.
I mean, the show it has such a legacy, and it's so important in the Australian storytelling DNA. So I've got two older sisters, and when they found out about it, they were head over heels for me, and it feels really special to be part of something that is so special for so many people, and then to be bringing it into the world, this reinvention, this reimagining of it to a next generation of teens and audience is really, really special. Yeah.
Did you feel the burden or the pressure of that legacy at all?
Not too much. I feel like, because I've seen a little bit of it. I've watched a little bit more now that we've finished we've wrapped, because I didn't want to be too influenced by the original, but this is so different from that, and it's a lot more, I guess. The original had its own context in that period, and this has its own context, and I don't know, it feels more current to how the original really reflected issues of that time. We're trying to do that in this incarnation as well.
Yeah, totally. We think of it more as a reimagining than a reboot, and I would say to lovers and fans of the old one, you're not gonna get the old Heartbreak High, but what we hope to encapsulate is the spirit of the old one.
Yeah.
So, the way it addressed, the themes of its time and the edginess and how authentic it was to young Australians of that day, and we hope to kind of bring that to light in, like James said, in a way that's current now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Everyone hates me.
Wait, Amory! Psycho mad bitch!
We don't hate you.
You just need to strut out there and earn your shit.
The original series was kind of distinct for the fact that it did address a lot of issues head-on at a time when a lot of its contemporaries weren't doing that. But I guess teen shows nowadays, they feel like they're more tapped into the social mores of our time. What do you think your version of Heartbreak High, distinct from its contemporaries?
Well, when was the last time we had a distinct Australian show? We've got amazing teen shows today. There's so much amazing young adult stuff out there, but we haven't had an Aussie one in so long that covers topics like this. And it doesn't shy away from that deeper content, but it also has a lot of heart, and it's wholesome, and it's campy,
and it's funny,
and it's cartoonish, and I just feel like that's something we haven't had in so long, and to get to see a cast like this reflected on the screen is going to be really special.
Absolutely.
We always say we never really got to see characters like the ones we get to play on screen before, in an Australian context, which is dope.
I think it's really cool to see, I've said this a few times, but Australia has this weird cultural cringe, and we never get cool media or cool shows, or and I think it's what's great about the Heartbreak High reimagining is that it's so romanticized. It romanticizes
Cringe Australian culture.
It embraces it, I think.
Embraces it, and it's something to aspire to, and I love that. Seeing TV shows, I always want to look at the characters and be I want to dress like that. I want to be like that. And I've never seen that in an Australian YA program. So I think it's really special, and it really sets this program apart. Yeah, it's not apologizing for who we are.
No, absolutely.
God no.
Yeah.
God no.
And I think that's the spirit of the show. The spirit of Heartbreak High is that the fact that it's so raw and unforgiving and brutal, and I think that's what we try to emulate in this.
100%. When I think of some of the more out there teen shows of, right now, things like Euphoria, it often comes with this moral panic from an older generation who goes, oh my God, I can't believe this is what the kids are doing. Do you think adults and parents will be shocked by what they see on Heartbreak High at all? If they are, then I would like to say to them, what did you do in your youth, huh?
But also, it's not for them, you know? And we're not showing anything that is like, oh my God, like, what is that? Like, we're showing what teenage life is like. And I think we're doing it in a way that, you know, it does have its moments, but again, it's raw and it's real and it's honest. I don't think it has anything that's going to, you know, make people go like, whoa, like, that's crazy. Like, you know, I think teenagers are going to be able to watch this and go, huh, okay, like, I see myself in that. And I like that's what it's about, you know. I think that's the importance of it.
Yeah.
But that being said, I think there's something in it for everyone, and I think
Absolutely.
lots of people are going to enjoy it.
This is a joke, right?
I'm way funnier than this.
Do you not understand how unimportant it all is?
You look like a tragic offcut from the Real Housewives. Forget that bitch, let's go.
You guys are not much older than your characters. Did you get to have much input into how those characters were formed? Did you have moments where you go, you know what, someone who is 16 or 17 would never say this?
We actually did that heaps. The amount of the amount of like slang that they would like put in, and we'd be like, what is that? And they're like, yeah, it's like slang. And we're like, no one says that word. And then like we'd like, so things like that in terms of like youthifying it, or like, oh, this is what we actually, I don't know, you know what I mean? Like we absolutely had an input in like how we spoke and the words that we spoke and the slang that we used and the things that are quintessential Aussie culture for us. Because, you know, it has changed in the past 10, 20, 30 years. So it's like, this is what Australian culture is now. And yeah, we'd have a lot of say in that, where we'd be like, that's not a word that we use. This is what they use. And they'd be like, oh, okay, cool. Like,
I remember even in we had a Zoom table read before we started rehearsals. I remember even in the Zoom table read, James would rip a bit and put in a few like little phrases, and the writers would be like, "That's sick." We're putting that in
the amount of
script."
times they'd be like, write that down, write that down, write that down.
Yeah, it was so, like, we were really, really lucky in the amount of collaboration and play we got to have. So that was really special.
Yeah, hugely.
Did you have any moments where you were like, this is a do-over of something that I wish I'd done when I was a kid?
I feel like it's very much a heightened, it's entertaining, so there's a lot of things, like with my character Darren, I'm like, there's some things that they say or like do that I'm like, wow, I think that's really brave, and I could not have done that whilst I was in high school.
Amory is way smoother with the boys than I ever was or am, so that's one.
I didn't have a high school experience. I was homeschooled from year 8 onwards, because high school sucks when you're autistic. But so being able to live a high school experience through the eyes of an autistic person who had her place and found her people was actually like a really healing experience for me. Like, I feel like a lot of people are like, oh yeah, my character was crazy, but like with Quinny, I was like, oh, okay, this is what it feels like to feel safe at a school. So it was actually quite healing for me.
Did you feel, given, you know, because you're an autism advocate as well, did you feel like you got to kind of really champion Quinny as well from your own lived experiences?
100%. And the whole writing team, Heartbreak team, were very, very collaborative with that. And like when we started, she wasn't even autistic, she was just neurodivergent, and they were thinking about making her like, oh, like she's neurodivergent, like coded, like we don't really talk about the fact that she's neurodivergent. I'm like, no, this is important. Like, I didn't see myself growing up, and it's time that people see themselves. And throughout the entire process, like I'd get a call and they would be like, oh, what do you think about this? And I'm like, that's not an autism thing, you only think that's what autism is like because of what you've seen in media of autism, which isn't real. Yeah. And then they'd be like, okay, well, what do you think? And I'd be like, this is what we need to do. And they're like, perfect. And I think they've done a really beautiful thing in showing autism, but in a way that is real. It's not, this is an autistic character, this is a prop who happens to be autistic. This is an autistic person, but she's also funny and she's intelligent and she's a best friend and she's her own person. Yeah, I think they've done a really beautiful job in showcasing what it's actually like to have a lived experience.
Where the hell have you been? Inside now!
Good night.